In typical Rockstar fashion, Red Dead Redemption 2 is loaded with references, Easter eggs, and unsolved mysteries. So it comes as no surprise that fans have begun throwing around some crazy theories, and these are some of the most compelling ones out there. Francis Sinclair is a mysterious, red-haired gentleman encountered at a cabin near Strawberry. Assuring you that he's on the level, Francis offers to pay you for locating some rock carvings and sending him the details. This initiates the mission Geology for Beginners. Right away, you may notice some red flags. Francis looks and talks like he stepped out of The Great Gatsby. Further, he has a conspicuous birthmark below his right eye.
Well, what's eating you, partner?
Eating me?
Once you complete the mission, Francis invites you back to his cabin via letter. When you arrive, you'll discover a drawing on the wall, depicting the images from the murals. There are some familiar locations, including the pyramids and the Empire State Building. That's when a woman enters carrying a red-haired infant with a familiar birthmark around his right eye. The baby's name, she says, is Francis.
Husband Francis is dead?
No, this is Francis. My husband, Tom, is dead.
All signs point to time travel, but there seems to be more to Francis's story than that. Some fans believe he may be connected to the Epsilon program in Grand Theft Auto 5. The Epsilon website shows a person with the same birthmark. The caption reads, possible descendant of Kraft. Also of note is their fifth tenant. Everyone is related to everyone else, except people with red hair. In other material, Epsilon paints redheads as unsavable liars. If Epsilon is aware of Francis's time travel, these verses may be about him, making him a sort of devil-like figure within the cult. Confused? No worries, you're not alone.
I'm a little confused.
Yes, I think you are.
During your travels, you might encounter a woman who asks for a ride following the death of a horse. As you near your destination, she brings up a location named Emerald Ranch, calling it a strange place with a nasty owner whose daughter never leaves the house.
There's a daughter, but she never leaves the house. You can see her in the window sometimes.
She also mentions a closed-down saloon filled with bullet holes and bloodstains. If you visit the ranch yourself, you can occasionally see a woman peering out from the upper window. Who is she, and why is she kept locked up? Many believe Emerald Ranch could be connected to an intriguing letter you can retrieve from an abandoned mail coach in the Cumberland Forest. The letter mentions that someone named Miriam had lost a loved one named Joshua in a horrible way. She goes on to question why Miriam hasn't responded to her last 6 letters and concludes that Uncle Eugene may be keeping them from her. Eagle-eyed players notice that a tombstone outside the bloody saloon reads Joshua Burgess, and that the ranch is guarded by Eugene Wegner. Game Rant concluded that Eugene likely killed his daughter's lover Joshua in the saloon and is now holding Miriam against her will. In Bale Edge, Lemoyne, you'll find a shack filled with strange writing on the walls. Beyond these cryptic writings, the shack contains 2 clues about its owner. The first is a line written above the window, I know you. For those who have played Red Dead Redemption, you may recognize this phrase as the name of the side mission in which you encounter the strange man.
Tell me your damn name and where you know me from.
Well, I know you from Mexico, I know you from back out west, I know you from all over.
The second hint is more blatant, though its true nature takes time to unfold. If you head to the shack early on, you'll find a canvas covered with a silhouette. Visiting the shack during later chapters reveals the painting has continued to progress. Eventually, the painting takes its final form, revealing a portrait of the strange man. As you enter the shack, you see him standing behind you in a nearby mirror, though he disappears if you turn and look back. The strange man's presence in Red Dead Redemption 2 has reignited theories about the character's nature. His possible prediction of John Marston's death in the first game, coupled with the messages in the shack, imply he might be some divine being with seer-like powers. He seems to test people and record their progress, possibly by shifting into other forms. Is he God, death, the devil, or maybe, just maybe, he's all 3? Manzanita Post is a small settlement in the Tall Trees region of West Elizabeth. Occupied by some Norwegian settlers, it would appear rather unremarkable, but this random camper knows better.
Then I walk around the back and see another feller with his head in his hands and a girl crying. There's something real wrong about the place.
Things in Red Dead Redemption 2 are rarely as they seem. Searching the main house reveals 2 items, a Norwegian photo and a Norwegian journal entry. The photo shows a man and a woman with an infant child, and the Norwegian word for unclean is written on the back. The journal, when translated, strikes a darker chord. The author says they hate to sleep because their faces are the only thing I see, their screams the only thing I hear, and father says it was the only option. The journal and the letter seems to tie into a Norwegian newspaper scrap looted from corpses at a camp in the Tall Trees area, which describes a man, woman, and a 2-year-old child found beaten and stabbed to death in Alstad. The woman belonged to a religious group that disappeared around the time of the murders. How does it all fit together? It's possible the inhabitants of Manzanita Post are what remains of the group mentioned in the newspaper. The journal and photo imply that they fled after murdering the couple and their child for being unclean. According to the scrap, the man originated from French North Africa, indicating that this was likely an ethnic or religious hate crime, and that Manzanita Post may very well be filled with murderers. Pleasance is an abandoned settlement found in northeastern Lemoyne. It is also the site where many players hope the next Undead Nightmare DLC will originate.
Now, I don't know what the hell's gotten into you sick, crazy bastards or what Uncle's done to you, but I'm going to get help. Stay calm.
What has people thinking zombies? There are a few components to this theory. As you investigate, you'll find the phrase "Stay out, plague" written across the barn door. More graffiti around town reads "Unclean sinners" and "Ill with sins." A visit to the graveyard near the church reveals the graves of 10 people, all shot or stabbed to death on September 17th, 1883. According to the welcome sign, these killings took place 1 month after the settlement was founded. Okay, but where do the zombies come in? Some people believe the settlement is a reference to The Walking Dead. The phrase on the door mirrors the famous "Don't open, dead inside" from season 1 of the show. The barn itself evokes the one where Herschel Green kept several walkers captive, including his wife and stepson, hoping to find a cure. Like the residents of Pleasance, the walkers in the barn were all exterminated at the same time. There is even a mother and son listed on the gravestones, though they have different names than in the show. It's possible a normal plague came into Pleasance and someone rounded up the infected, killing them before it could spread. But that idea doesn't sound nearly as fun as another Undead Nightmare. On a shelf behind the counter in Herbert Moon's general store in Armadillo, you'll find what appears to be a portrait of the Strange Man. When asked about the picture, Herbert says it's just a portrait someone gave him that he's always liked. Let's rewind a bit. Remember the Strange Man's shack? A phrase written on one of the walls reads, "The moon will shine on in the darkness." Due to the portrait in Herbert Moon's store, some players believe the moon referenced here is the shopkeeper himself. In the bar in Armadillo, a man tells you about a cholera outbreak.
I should warn you, I'm sick, but so is pretty much everyone else around here. Apart from that son of a bitch who runs the general store.
It's possible the cholera is the darkness, implying Moon made some deal with the Strange Man that stops him from catching the disease.
Some folks say the whole town is cursed.
Whole town's got cholera!
A message written on a plan of Armadillo found in the Strange Man's shack may also connect to Herbert Moon. It reads, "I offered you happiness or 2 generations. You made your choice." In this case, Moon may have bargained for the safety of himself and his family for 2 generations. By making his choice, he sacrificed his happiness, possibly evidenced by the marriage of one of his daughters to a Jewish person. As you'll discover from interacting with him, Moon is deeply racist.
Have you ever met a Jewish person?
Thankfully not.
Oh well, at least he gets his comeuppance in the original Red Dead's Undead Nightmare DLC.
You can't eat me! I'm Herbert!
Many players have heard whispering voices and disembodied laughter while traveling through Roanoke Valley. The name Eugene Hunt is mentioned, along with a female voice crying and saying she needs to get back home. These strange encounters have already spawned a great deal of speculation. Due to the name of the region, many players believe the voices are a reference of the real-world lost colony of Roanoke Island, the first English colony in the world. Over 100 people settled there in 1587. However, it was difficult to resupply due to the war with Spain. By the time a rescue mission arrived 3 years later, everyone had vanished.
When Roanoke Governor John White returns from a voyage to England in 1590, he discovers that his entire colony has gone missing.
Roanoke Colony has fascinated many over the last 4 centuries, even making its way into pop culture. The inspiration for the 6th season of American Horror Story, it's possible the Roanoke Valley in Red Dead Redemption 2 is an homage to the show and the real-life mystery it's based on. You can find a note labeled English Spelling Practice in a decrepit Native American camp near Citadel Rock. If you combine the first letter of each word, you'll discover a hidden message. Wazia comes with winter breath. Its trees stand guard, whispering all night that we sleep in our grave. Father fought and died so quickly, mother dies slow. According to Lakota legend, Wazia was a giant who guarded the Aurora Borealis and brought the winter as he traveled south. His name roughly translates to blower from snow pines. Some players believe this reference reference to Wazir connects to a greater mystery. A rock painting hidden behind a pine tree on Mount Shan appears to depict a giant with a pine-shaped head and human supplicants worshipping at its feet. You can also find the infamous giant bones in the area. Others have suggested Wazir might be the key to the compass-like rock formation and panoramic map found on Mount Shan. Lakota culture holds that the four winds come from each of the cardinal points: north, south, east, and west. They also associate each point with a specific color. Rockstar is notorious for including events that can only be triggered under specific circumstances. The compass points, the four seasons, and even the phase of the moon may need to be in alignment to solve the mystery. Meanwhile, players continue the hunt.